I was born in Eastern Oregon, grew up on a ranch. After that, we had to draft. So I decided to go into the Navy and get a commission as an officer. Spent 4 years active, and then I spent 17 years in the reserve system too. So 1959 is when I was commissioned in ensign, and then I joined Air Group 15 immediately. My primary job, along with other intelligence officers who were assigned to the squadrons, was to brief pilots on specific targets that were to be blown up in World War III. When I'm a docent on the Hornet, I try to explain to people the type of crew and how many they have. These are all the people we lost during that cruise. And some of them I knew would be skidded across the whole deck. And then there was 2 sailors in a catwalk. Probably shouldn't have been. And as that plane went off, he decapitated those 2 guys. So we killed them and then so we lost 3 people on one accident. And that was rather dramatic at the time. That was scary.
I tried to get work, but nobody would hire you because I was ready to be drafted. So I enlisted because if you enlist before you're drafted, you have more choices. The lottery came after the draft, shortly after I went into the Army. People who came back from Vietnam were spit on. I was spit on twice because people thought we loved going there. We had no choice. You were drafted and you went in different directions. You either got in the line and you were told to go in this line or this line, and when you got in those lines, you either went to Germany in the Army or you went to Vietnam or Korea. So you didn't have a choice of where you're going, but we still looked down on by many. And one of the reasons for that is Vietnam was the first television war. And so people saw people getting hurt, wounded. You saw that girl who was stark naked, that famous picture after a napalm bombing. They don't show why those things happen. I'm not condoning it at all, but it turned the country against everybody who was in Vietnam. If I had to go to Vietnam and if I was going to get killed, it was going to be my way of doing it, not some idiot's way. So I signed up for officer candidate school. The roughest thing I've ever done in my life was officer candidate school in the Army. So out of 430 people, 90 of us survived officer candidate school. I graduated from OCS in March. I did not want to go to Vietnam. I'm scared to death of heights, so I thought maybe jump school might be time enough for Nixon, President Nixon, to shut the war down. So for 2 months I went to jump school, jumped out of 5 planes. My goal when I first met my platoon on the artillery base was, my goal is to get them all home safe and sound. Out of 90 guys under me at one time or another, sometimes we were 13, sometimes we were 22 at the most. Out of the 6 months there, one of my kids lost a foot, and that was it due to a booby trap. No one else was killed. And when you're in the jungle and there's no moon, and you've got canopy, the leaves above you, you can't see your hand this close to you because it's so dark. When you go out for marches, there are booby traps everywhere. You step on one booby trap, you're not going to kill or hurt yourself, but you're going to hurt somebody real close to you. So if I'm sitting here, the closest soldier to me in the line of march is where that wall is. And the exception are the first 2 people. The point man's job is to look down and look for booby traps, period. The guy behind him is literally a foot or 2 feet behind him. His job is to protect that guy, look for ambushes, look for snipers, look for anything. His job is not to look on the ground. So I did not want to walk point right away immediately. And this young man was going home in 2 weeks, wasn't thinking. He volunteered to be the point man because he knew what he was doing. He just forgot. You cannot forget anything in combat. And he stepped over a branch in the path, and I figured he knew what he was doing, so I stepped over the branch in the path. He went around a boulder. The boulder, there was a booby trap that blew his foot off right away. And the foot was dangling there because of the skin, but the bones were totally disconnected. There are 3 rules in Vietnam. If you go out a trail, you never come back, and that's what my first 2 kills were. The second rule of thumb is you never spend the same night twice. at the same location. Even if it's convenient, even if it's the best defensive position, oh, you always move because somebody's always watching. And I have survivor's guilt because, and I can't stand fireworks or people shooting guns because I can't stand 4th of July's because when they overran the artillery base, they blew up the ammo dump. So you see through the jungle, you can see all the fireworks going. I learned never to take anyone or anything for granted. Everybody is important.
If I had a choice there, I probably would have ran off to Canada, but I felt that wasn't really a smart move to do. So, I'm not going to take a chance and get drafted into the Army or the Marines, so I enlisted in the Navy and the Seabees. Ended up passing all their tests for electronics and ended up going to school for electronics engineering. I felt safe down there because in the next room was the company commander and the executive officer. And so in there was a big board with, if we were under attack, they could plan things out. They could come into me and say, okay, send us out message here, we need help here, whatever's going on. So yeah, I felt that was pretty safe. But what I found out later, because we always had these Marine guards at the top of these doors up here, standing there, and these guys had grenades and everything on their belt, and I'm going. So one time, it was just before we were leaving, I said, so, okay, you guys are going to tell me, what is your purpose? Why were you here for? I mean, we're just, were you going to protect us? And he said, as much as we could, but then these are all thermal grenades. So if you guys couldn't get out, our orders were to open the grenades and throw them down there and just destroy the whole bunker with you guys in it. Because I never really were in a direct command center activity because our camp never got overrun. We never got attacked all the time I was there. So that never occurred. But one time as I had to go outside the camp to a communication line right outside our camp, so I just had them put me on a platform in a forklift and they raised me up. So I was up there working on fixing this communication line for them. And somebody starts shooting at me. So, and a bullet when it comes close to you, because the sound of the ballistic is so loud, it's like a loud crack. So I heard that right over my head, and I turned around to look, and as I looked, another one hit the wood chip and knocked chips off. At that point, I dropped down onto the platform, and so I yelled down to the guy, "Get me down! There's somebody shooting at me," and he's going, "Oh yeah, I'll get you." And he's there playing around with this thing, couldn't get it to lower, and I'm still being shot at up there. I just rolled off about 20 feet into the rice paddies and jumped down myself, got out of the thing, just went right into the mud of the rice paddies. But it was almost to the point where you kind of almost had to hide from the fact that you were in the military. So if you didn't, people were making comments to you and everything.
Government of Kuwait. This was given us to by government of Saudi Arabia for Desert Storm when I was over in Desert Storm. This is what I got last time when I was in Iraq. I was in Iraq for 2 campaigns, so I got that and that. These are just awards that I got: Army Achievement Medal, Military Service, Bronze Star. I got a Bronze Star when I was over the first time, and then I retired with the Legion of Merit. So that's what this is. Get these stripes here. Every 6 months you're overseas in combat, you get one of these. So I got one for Desert Storm, and then the 2 extra ones that I got were when I was over in Iraq. And people join the military for different reasons. I joined because I'm an American. I'm proud of being an American, and I wanted to give back something to my country. I think I did 32 years now. If you take care of soldiers, they'll take care of you, and that's the way it is in this world.